Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to really cut through the noise of the weekly tech updates. We're navigating a flood of information from one specific source, random technical news you can possibly use, which comes from Andrew Kagan's desk.
And that source is, incredibly valuable because it's not just one niche corner of tech. It's a full snapshot. It organizes everything across 8 huge technical areas, from core Azure infrastructure all the way to security and what's next for the industry.
Exactly. So our goal for this deep dive is to pull out the most relevant, the most impactful, and frankly, the most surprising nuggets for you. If it's a new capability, a critical security shift, or a big licensing change that's going to affect your budget, we are pulling it out and explaining the why.
And there's one massive theme you'll hear weaving through all 8 of these sections. It's the acceleration and really the institutionalization of agentic AI. This isn't just a cool feature anymore. It's changing the very foundation of infrastructure.
Okay, let's unpack that then, starting right at the foundation, Azure updates. The first thing that jumps out is how Microsoft is blending site reliability engineering, or SRE, with AI. They've introduced the Azure SRE agent.
Which is a huge shift in operational philosophy. Traditionally, SRE is reactive, or at best, alert-driven. This agent is designed to use AI to anticipate issues, to try and prevent problems before they even trigger a major alert.
But the truly technical breakthrough, the feature I think operations teams will really care about, is this concept of Azure SRE agent memory. The goal is that the agent should never explain context twice. Why is that so important operationally?
It's all about cognitive overload and wasted time. Think about a complex system issue, right? An engineer spends the first hour just collecting logs, tracing back deployment history, figuring out what was tried before.
Yeah, just getting up to speed.
Exactly. If the agent already has all that operational history, all that context,
Yeah.
if it truly has memory, it means you start remediation from an informed state. It just streamlines everything.
That sounds like a dream for anyone who's ever debugged a system at 3 in the morning. Now, this kind of specialized AI functionality, it needs specialized infrastructure. The source points to Microsoft Foundry.
Right. Foundry is explicitly their platform for building these AI apps and agents. It's the dedicated infrastructure built to handle the massive compute and data requirements that these systems need.
And once you build these agents, you have to connect them to services and data. The updates mention using Logic Apps as MCP servers, MCP being Model Context Protocol. What exactly is that protocol trying to standardize?
It's how AI agents get their utility in the real world. The protocol standardizes how models can access tools, APIs, and external data in a structured, reliable way. And by using Logic Apps Microsoft's low-code integration service, you're basically linking low-code automation directly to the agent's brain.
So connecting the model's brain to the enterprise's body. That makes sense. Before we move on, I have to point out this incredibly specific yet super relevant piece of guidance in the Azure section. Detailed instructions on how to modernize an Access database to Node.js, OpenAPI, and SQL Server. That's solving a decades-old pain point.
A critical migration path, for sure. Now let's move up the stack a bit to Microsoft 365. This is where the users are and where licensing hits every single budget.
And you cannot miss the 2 huge headlines here. First, major changes to Microsoft 365 licensing. And second, at the same time, an announcement of new capabilities and a pricing update. If you manage an IT budget, this is required reading.
Absolutely. The major impact here is often a recalibration of features. What used to be in a lower tier might get moved up, or new AI capabilities might require a whole new license. When they call changes major, it can fundamentally alter your annual spend.
And beyond the money, the identity side of things is also evolving fast. We're seeing untrasynced passkeys and passkey profiles. We all know passkeys are more secure than passwords, but what does the synced part solve for an enterprise?
Scalability. It's all about scalability. For you or me, a passkey on one device is simple. For an enterprise, making sure thousands of employees can use their identity across dozens of devices securely is, well, it's extremely complex. Syncing the profiles within Entra makes deployment at scale viable. The security policy follows the user, not the device.
That simplifies things a lot. And for large-scale management, we also saw a note on advanced Microsoft Intune solutions at scale, which sounds like more tools to handle that massive complexity of managing endpoints everywhere.
Precisely. And just to round out M365, there are some collaboration updates with events in Viva Engage and a great resource for educators. The hands-on session, Teach module in Copilot is now available for everyone.
Okay, let's transition from productivity to low-code. Power Platform and Dynamics 365. The most critical technical update here seems to revolve around security and infrastructure, Azure VNet integration for Power Platform.
This is one of the most important updates in the entire newsletter, especially for large companies. You have to understand what it was like before. Historically, if your Power App needed to access, say, an internal SQL database behind your firewall, it often had to go over a public endpoint or through some kind of exposed gateway.
Which introduces a ton of risk.
Huge risk.
Yeah.
It creates a pathway for data exfiltration or eavesdropping because the connection isn't contained in your trusted network. By integrating directly into a virtual network, a VNet, your low-code tools can now talk to sensitive internal resources without ever touching the public internet. This tightens that security perimeter significantly.
That's a massive accelerator for trust in the platform. It just secures the whole thing. Now, on the agent side, Dynamics 365 has an overview of its AI agents, and it's coupled with new guidance on instruction guidance for generative orchestration.
Right, because agents are rarely just single-step tools. Generative orchestration is how you chain together multiple distinct AI actions. Maybe one agent summarizes a customer ticket, a second one checks inventory, and a third drafts the reply. This guidance is the framework for building reliable, multi-step agent workflows.
And for a practical example of that, we have the request for information in Copilot Studio agent flows, showing how a complex process can be automated with these tools.
Let's follow this thread right into the guts of it all. DevOps, SRE, and the new agent development pipeline. Microsoft is clearly trying to define how these agents are built.
Yeah, they're laying out the strategy. We see the concept of Foundry IQ in the Microsoft Agent Framework. What is this IQ layer?
Foundry IQ seems to be the specialized knowledge, maybe the pre-trained understanding of enterprise processes that's baked into the development environment itself. It's like intelligent scaffolding that helps agents function inside a corporate context right away instead of learning from scratch.
And they've also mapped out this strategic pattern, the golden triangle of agentic development.
And whenever you see a company define a golden triangle, that's their playbook. It's the 3 non-negotiable pillars for success. Here, it almost certainly refers to the tight integration between development, secure deployment, and continuous autonomous monitoring all for agents. It's the new map.
But right next to these frameworks is a huge reality check, a warning that should make every developer stop and think. The title is, Your CI/CD pipeline is not ready to ship AI agents.
That is a fascinating and very sobering warning. Traditional CI/CD pipelines are built for deterministic code. If I change one line of code, I know exactly how the app will behave. I can run repeatable tests.
But agents are not like that at all.
Not at all. They're volatile, they're non-deterministic, they rely on real-time external context. They might behave one way in staging and completely differently in production if the data changes. Shipping them means you have to rethink everything, testing, monitoring, rollbacks, because a bad agent could cause autonomous harm before you even notice.
The message is clear. The old tools aren't enough for this new kind of intelligence, yet performance is still critical. We see an update on the profiler agent. Delegate the analysis, not the performance.
That's about minimizing overhead. You want deep insights into why your code is slow, but the tool you use to find that out shouldn't slow it down even more.
And for high performance, there's guidance leaning toward a specific stack, combining Rust and Python for high-performance AI systems.
That's the modern hybrid approach.
Yeah.
Python for the flexibility and high-level ML work, but you use Rust for the lightning-fast, memory-safe components underneath. Best of both worlds.
Let's shift to data, analytics, and AI. This section is less about products and more about understanding the core architecture.
Yeah, and there are some excellent educational resources here. It starts with the 7 foundational pillars of agentic AI. If you want a structured way to think about how these things are built, start there. Plus, there are visual explainers for both 8 AI model architectures and the top 5 LLM fine-tuning techniques, which is so helpful for grasping complex ideas.
Connecting this back to how we consume information, there's one article with a really provocative prediction: the end of dashboards and design systems.
That's practically heresy in the data world, but it raises a profound question. Static dashboards are great, but they require the user to know what they're looking for. If an AI agent can get you a custom answer, generate a visualization on the fly, why would you maintain a complex, fixed dashboard?
It suggests the entire UI of business intelligence is shifting from a structured pull model to a conversational push model. It's huge.
It is, and it demands that data engineers pay attention. Speaking of which, there's critical guidance on assessing your Azure Data Factory for migration to Fabric Data Factory. That's a clear signal. Fabric is the destination, and you need to start planning that move.
And we also see specific AI agent adoption guidance from Microsoft's Cloud Adoption Framework, which shows they're serious about making this standard practice.
And one last technical note, which is super important for engineers. The complete guide to using Pydantic for validating LLM outputs. LLMs can hallucinate or generate garbage. Pydantic is a Python library that enforces a rigid output schema, making sure the AI's output is actually usable by other applications. It's a crucial defensive tool.
Okay, let's move quickly into security, compliance, and privacy, the defensive line that has to keep up with all this. The focus here seems to be on reducing exposure.
We start with foundational defense, like a deep dive into Azure DDoS protection. But the modern strategy is more about prevention. That's why the guidance on expose less, protect more with Microsoft Security Exposure Management is so critical. You can't protect what you don't know you have exposed.
And that strategy ties directly into the goal of zero trust to achieve your resilience objectives. Trust is never assumed, which is vital when you have autonomous agents roaming the network.
We're also seeing specialized security offerings emerge. The introduction of Sophos Intellix for Microsoft 365 Copilot shows that vendors are building defenses specifically for the unique data flows created by Copilot.
And here's where the threat intel gets very specific. The source highlights guidance on a supply chain attack named Shai-Hulud 2.0.
Supply chain attacks are so hard to stop because they exploit trust. Shai-Hulud 2.0 is a sophisticated threat, and this kind of dedicated guidance shows that defending against these actors requires specialized, custom defenses. Standard firewalls aren't enough.
And even in security tooling, we see that customization trend with your stack, your rules, custom agents in GitHub Copilot, letting security teams tailor Copilot to their specific code.
Let's pivot to learning and certifications. For the absolute fundamentals, there's a necessary refresher, the Git and GitHub Crash Course for beginners.
But the immediate high-value skill ties right back to our Azure talk. There's a guide on how to build your first MCP server using fast MCP. That's a perfect example of where the market is headed. If you can build reliable model context protocol servers, you'll be in high demand.
It aligns perfectly. And looking ahead, the resources give you a look at the best AI tools for 2026, but also deep theory like how LLMs learn from the internet.
Finally, let's zoom out to industry news and trends. We start with a very important reality check, quantum computing reality check. What business needs to know now?
This is so crucial for grounding expectations.
Yeah.
The science is advancing, for sure, but businesses need to separate the theoretical potential from current commercial reality. Quantum isn't going to fix your database next year, but partnerships like the one between Algorithmic and Microsoft show we are building the foundational tools for it.
On the AI trend side, two things stand out. First, the foresight in what's next in AI, 7 trends to watch in 2026. And second, a story that really makes you think. The AI that scored 95% until consultants learned it was AI.
That anecdote is a perfect reminder of how we evaluate performance. The AI was amazing at acing a specific test, but once humans knew it was an AI, they could craft questions that used common sense and ambiguity, and the model it fell apart. It makes you question if high scores really mean high understanding.
A great point about critical thinking. We end on a sober security note. A bulletin reporting that PRC state-sponsored actors are using Brickstorm malware. It's a constant reminder that these sophisticated, targeted attacks are a persistent reality.
So, if we synthesize all 8 of these categories, the core theme is relentless, forced change. The rise of agentic AI isn't just adding features, it's forcing massive infrastructure overhauls, from M365 licensing to the absolute need for Azure VNet integration.
And the key takeaway for you, the listener, has to be the importance of those security and infrastructure shifts. The SRE agent memory, the VNet integration. These updates prove that even the biggest platforms need fundamental changes to handle the unique volatility of autonomous intelligence.
It's a massive shift in technical requirements.
And if there's one challenge we leave you with, it's that bold warning from the DevOps section. Your CI/CD pipeline is not ready to ship AI agents. How does continuous delivery, a practice that thrives on predictability, need to fundamentally change to manage the volatility, the non-determinism, and the autonomous nature of the AI agents that are coming? That is the problem that will define software development for years to come.
A fascinating problem indeed.
We'll see you next time for the next deep dive.